Okay, today's inquiry is rather different. It says, what is the real esoteric meaning behind the crucifixion? I'm fed up of trying to research it and come across the same Catholic-tainted explanations each time. It's symbolic of Jesus saving the world by dying for our sins, or it's an archetype of some kind symbolizing the fall, or it's representative of making sacrifices for a greater good. How do you interpret it? I imagine this is a deep subject, so maybe you could record a video on the topic. Okay, well, that's what I'm doing, and I do hope I've got the camera lined up right. I'm not very good at getting this thing out and getting everything framed right, so please chillax, okay? Right, where do I come from on the subject of the crucifixion? It is symbolic and it is mystical without the shadow of a doubt. Most people in the in the real world today will actually want something which is useful to them in one form or another. Therefore, there must be something useful to the average individual when looking at the subject of the Christian crucifixion. Firstly, I'll run down a very brief description of what the story is about. Okay, you got this king who 33 years previously or thereabouts decided that he was terrified that there was this one guy who was going to take his position and get all the firstborn killed. Bit of a pain that is, right? Okay, but 33 years later, you got the same guy whose life was essentially in jeopardy because the king was, way back in the day, killed all the firstborn, saying, like, I can't see anything wrong with this guy. And then all of a sudden there's this complex politics and all these various different people here, there, and everywhere who are saying all kinds of stuff about him, and that he therefore must die. And then Pontius Pilate is kind of like, oh, sugar, what am I going to do about this? And eventually succumbs, and Jesus goes through the process of being whipped and being stripped, and of course being crucified. Then the story gets a bit interesting. According to Christian mythology, Jesus then goes into the hell world, or the world of the dead, does something there which is a little unclear, and then comes back to life, seemingly in the same body, but there's a feeling of there being something changed about him. And then after that he goes and moves straight upstairs, so to speak, to see, basically to see Dad and all the rest of it, all three back upstairs, getting on with the rest of eternity. Now, how can that story be useful to people? Well, if we look at the symbols which are present in Christianity of the flesh, namely the body symbolizes, your body symbolizes something negative in Christian thinking. Well, obviously it's like bacterial and slimy and all kinds of icky things that goes on inside it. Basically, physical animal bodies, of which we are living in, are pretty disgusting anyway. The flesh symbolizes things which are negative or sinful, hence like your instincts and your drives and all the rest of that, which could not necessarily help you to be totally integrated into society if you would just let them free and to do whatever it is that they want. That's negative. And there is a positive concept, which is like all your better thoughts and your better ideas, and your intellect, your rationality, your sensitivity, your empathy, and all that kind of really, really cool stuff, which is essentially the good stuff. Alright, so when the physical is destroyed, then some good things can come out of the process of destroying the physical. Symbolically speaking, you're alive today, carry on being alive, don't kill yourself, it's not worth it. Alright, just thought I'd just throw that in there in case someone chooses to misinterpret this when they're watching this under the influence of drugs. Okay? Being on the internet can be difficult sometimes, right? So affecting that which is negative to allow that which is positive to develop is what the story is essentially about. I could illustrate this with a fictional story about someone who maybe has an addiction to gambling or has a terrifying fear of the number 13. And let's say they go to counseling twice a week for a full year. Alright, just to try and get rid of this problem with either gambling or fear of the number 13. During that process, they would have to look closely at every single thing that's made them up, all of the ways in which they looked at the world, all of the things which has affected them, not because they want to go into blaming, but they want to be able to see where their thinking is wrong, and therefore to attack their own sense of identity when connected to the way in which they see the outer world. This can be quite a challenge. It can actually be quite emotionally painful, bringing up all kinds of self-loathing, pity, remorse, all kinds of forms of negatives which can be getting in the way of the individual just being happy and getting on with life. If we were to see that time when the individual is going through counselling as being symbolically the mortification of the flesh of Jesus, which means the stripping and the flogging and all that kind of stuff, the real punishment of that which is negative, which the body is a symbol of. Don't go around flogging yourself, that won't help, okay? So that something spiritual could then emerge, right? With the individual who's going through counselling or therapy or whatever it is, they want to come out the other side without the problem that they went into the counselling or therapy with, okay? And it will be a painful, challenging process. But after it, one would hope that they would be a better quality of individual, something would have changed inside them, and they would have moved on in life and would then be able to be a better integrated, contributing member of society in better ways. They may still have a few issues because they're still a human being, but they won't be quite as bad. By now you should be able to see that there is a connection between a mystical interpretation of the story of the crucifixion and the story of an individual going through counselling or therapy to come out the other side. Once the individual has come out the other side, they may feel relief, they may feel better. Essentially, they will be symbolically reborn or resurrected from the dead. The symbol of the 3 days in which Jesus goes into hell, or into the world of the dead, it's not necessarily hell as in like fire and all that kind of stuff. It's hell as in a place where the dead go, which probably came from the word, what was it now? Gehenna, which I believe in ancient Israel was a place which was like a rubbish tip and also a place where dead bodies were put. It's therefore a symbol of a unpleasant place of death and decay. Right? So the idea is Jesus goes into a spiritual place of death and decay, either to do more good or to experience stuff. That has to be a symbol, in my eyes, of going into a dark night of the soul and really facing your own personal demons in a very, very intense way prior to coming out a changed individual who's in control. Okay? Then the resurrection and ascending into heaven is the moment when the individual has left counselling, has left therapy, and goes on with their life. The stories associated with the crucifixion of Jesus, combined with the time of Lent, is like a way of trying to live that kind of therapeutic way of life for a more focused period of time in which you're looking at yourself much more prior to a time in which you're celebrating getting out of or getting beyond the issues that you may have accumulated since the previous Easter. Okay, so it is a perpetual cycle of growth. The period of Advent itself on the run-up to Christmas is another Lent-like time in which there is traditionally supposed to have been fasting, which we don't tend to do that much of these days, but that's beside the point. Does that help you to understand symbolically, from a non-literalist, non-fundamentalist perspective, how one can apply the story of the crucifixion of Jesus to stuff, all right, to your life, to the life of other human beings? Does that connect well enough? Do you, if it doesn't make any sense, there's a comment section down below, fill it. Just fill it up with stuff that you want me to have a look at here. Because it is a complex subject. I've tried to explain it as best as I can. Alright, I mean, in Christian writings it always says things like, we have been crucified with Christ. I'm still here, I'm still alive, so what can it mean? Does it mean I've been crucified? No. It means that I've been trying to go through change and come out the other side. So I'm not now what I used to be, God knows how many years ago. And I've been putting in deliberate action to try and change and to grow. And I hope you've been doing the same. If you'd like to see more videos on the subject of Christian-related mysticism as a out of the mouth of Nick, then again, in the comment section, let me know. Rate, comment, subscribe, favourite and share. Speak to you again soon. God bless.